Well,
They done been outed.
say the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's what tomorrow's about.
Yep.
Pledge allegiance.
John, did you sign here?
Just as a quick one off the top, Jonas Stolfus, the guy that we had for the trees, is out of town. I'm going to get with him again and do all that. But he left town, then he come back to town, and I think he's took off again. So they must have had a pretty good summer. Looked like we were pretty fortunate over at the Ball Diamond. We lost a pretty good limb out of one of them ash trees, but
I haven't been out
same.
I wondered if we hadn't lost anything.
Yeah, we didn't damage the fence any on that little diamond, but it's right there with it.
Well, I saw a truck go through town Saturday when the power was out,
Yeah, we were,
and then I saw it come back and go the other way. I thought, well, they surely ought to know where it's out at. But
when the town was without power, the well field was also without power. So during that time period, of course, and we weren't pumping water, but just in monitoring everything, we didn't lose power over at the substation in that area. It was just between here and town, which between the well field and towns where we lost the power. The generator was operating appropriately during that time, so it kicked on okay. And the other thing is when the power come on, I was there when it came back on, and everything shut down and everything rebooted itself, and we were right back on. So
good.
we didn't lose anything. I was starting to get worried just where everybody was at, where everybody was calling for water, but our tanks were pretty well filled up, so we lasted that pretty good. So I don't know, what was it, maybe 4 or 5 hours? 4 hours?
5 out 4 or something.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
I was out from 9 to 12:30 or something like that. Something like that.
Yeah. So everything come back on, booted up at that point in time. That was all we had on that issue there. So there is with the telemetry that they've got over between the substation and the school, there's a fluctuation in the levels that we're going to have to calibrate. And I don't know whether it's not getting a signal back, but the Turkey Run Tower will fill. And then I'll get a high level signal alarm from it indicating that it's overflowing. But then just within maybe a couple of 3 minutes, well, then it'll go ahead and clear itself and reset everything. So we're going to have to back up the limit, the high limit in that tower, just to lower it back a little bit to give the other end time to compensate and shut down so it don't overflow. But it's not every time. So sometimes, I don't know if it's a fluctuation of water slapping around or whether it just doesn't get an accurate reading or what, but we'll go ahead and follow up with that with Hercules. Did the lady get a hold of you from
Houdini?
Yeah, I said Hercules, but Houdini.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, I didn't have any emails from her.
Do what?
I didn't have any emails from her.
Right.
And she was going to email him again. She wanted to know how quick we could pay him. And I told her she would fax them to me Friday. I would get them to you guys tonight. And
Okay.
if you approved to get her a check.
Yep. Okay.
But I think if I would have got an email from Houdini Services about an invoice, I might not have opened it.
Right. Okay. Well, and we switched over
And
From Graves to Houdini.
okay, is that the guy that?
Yeah,
this
Jim
one?
Jameen.
Jim, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know what the name of this company was. I have both those right here, there's two of them. Oh gosh, darn it. There's one for $17,773.
Yep.
This replace existing two-way radio with cellular-based communication.
And that was one,
And
you
then-
and I were there that day, when Jamie, yeah.
Money was there.
Monty and I were there when Jim was there. Yeah.
And
What
then-
happened, John, was that system that we had in there that was communicating from the Turkey Run Tower back to the substation is no longer in existence, you know, and it played itself out. So we updated with Houdini is the new company, and and the system is called Mission System. It's a communication system. It's
Yeah,
through
it's
SCADA.
right there.
Yeah. So there's this here. I'll get your guys' email addresses too, because we can put your email address in there at that point in time, and then we can pull it up. We can see where the tank levels are at, or whether it's pumping or not ever. So that's going to save quite a bit. And I mean, it's $17,000, but it's an upgrade. The other thing of it is we can monitor that sitting here now. We don't have to run all over the place to get it, so it's going to be more efficient down the road in the long run.
The second one is for $978 to repair the flow meter on the RO system.
Yes,
Okay. To pay both of those?
yes. We're also in the process of making an application for renovations in the water system as we go forward. In Triad, I've met with them, and they've met with us and Jim Jameen, who is our service guy,
Use those.
and make an evaluation of everything that we want to look at down the well field, improvements that we want to make there. So Terry Jones of Jonesy's Consulting is going to be our consultant on that, and he'll do some of the money aspects of it. And through that, then we'll have to go through the process of an evaluation on our rates, do a rate study again with our costs and everything else, and see how much that's going to raise us, some water funds and monies are going to be available to us. So it's going to be a pretty good sized project. We'll try to include as many agencies as we can to look for funding on that. So that's in the works too, and we've got that thing going. There's also discussions, sort of an exploratory thing, tabletop type thing of looking at and evaluating a sewer system again, and that sewer system would encompass the state park, the school, Marshall, Bloomingdale, and then they're looking to, the original thought process idea was to pump it all to Rockville. So, and let that sewage plant take care of it. So there's a lot that has to be discussed yet, you know, in the plan and what we want to get out of that. So if you guys, I think our next meeting is the 16th, I'll look and make sure, but if you guys want to go to that meeting and attend with me, well, you're more than welcome to get insight in on what that's going to be. And that'll be out at the Park County Emergency Management Center when we meet there. So,
What do you want me to pay Houdini out of?
the water, the
I don't have county resources.
yeah, let's see what you
I had a glitch in my system today, and it was too late to call Keystone.
Okay, where are we at?
Oh, we gotta take it out of water. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Water operating. Okay. And then we have, our capacity fee here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's pay,
You want to do half and half?
yeah, that'll work. Yep,
Okay.
pay half and half. What we'll be looking at to pay that bill with Houdini is the half of it will be out of our operating expense, and then the other charge will be out of the capacity fee. We charge for producing that water because it goes beyond us.
Are you saying that's an upgrade to the water system, right?
Yes,
Before we take it out of those, let me call Chris O'Brien and see if maybe we could take it out of the ARPA money. Do you think we could do that?
out of what?
Yeah.
The COVID money?
Mm-hmm. Because we've got it all.
Okay. Yes, see
Okay.
if that'd be an eligible thing, if it would be,
Okay.
we'll do that, yeah. And the other part of that would be then, if we, and what we're talking about is the COVID relief money that we got that we can implement. The other thing we could probably look at doing with that funds, and we'll check to make sure, but I would say also that as much as that we could establish to use toward our grant would be, it'd be a 10%, that we would look at.
Mm-hmm.
So the more money we can put in, the less that our construction and those type of things would be.
So we've got this total.
And we
Will
have,
that be enough, or should we just go ahead and do it the way we say half and half?
well, right now, let's go half and half, and then
Okay, I'll leave that alone
we
for
can
now.
pay that, and then we can check on that, and then if that happens, then we can take that and replace it into
Okay.
our capacity fee
Okay.
charge.
All right, I feel better doing that, and that leaves that free.
Yes, because there's what, there's 57,000 in the COVID relief, and that would be a big chunk,
I need you to sign.
toward our
on it.
process on that, so we'll check on that. I gotta talk
Yeah.
to them tomorrow, and I'll try to.
If you see
remember.
Chris O'Brien, he'll be able to tell.
Yeah,
I'm gonna lose these after all. It's been a rough day.
Also making application, through Park County Emergency Management there with some of the funds and things that they have for an evaluation on our storm sewer system. You look at the problems that we've got here in town with our stormwater drains. The other part of it is 90% of the septics probably at some point in time dump into a storm drain or go to the creek and everything else. So if we're going to look at and make a decision when it comes time that to make repairs, if we put in a stormwater system, of course then we're going to have to deplete the septics from that. They wouldn't be allowed to go into that. So the first thing we would have to do would be to put in a septic system throughout the town in order to be able to free up the flowing water for surface waters and storm waters. So that, is a monster that we're going to face, and we'll see what the costs are and see our population and everything else and what it's going to cost. But we've put it off in the past through the years, and we've had public meetings and everybody's been opposed to it. The thing we got to look at, I think, from a standpoint too, is right now there's money coming down the road that's going to be available for cities and towns and state probably maybe for the next 4 years. And if we don't get on that bandwagon, why we'd be so far behind. So I don't know, we'll have to look at it and increase, and see what it's going to be, but it's going to be a monumental task for the town of what we're going to be facing financially, the way everything's going and everything else. So we'll have to wait and see what we're going to do down the road. But those are the things we got. At least I think we need to put those things in place so we know what our numbers are, so that we can make a responsible decision of whether we go ahead or whether we're going to maintain the same thing. If we shake our head no on this time and on the monies, then I don't see no
Who knows when it'll be?
future down the road where, we would be I met with FutureX, and they're going to write us a proposal letter to indicate what their problems are and where that sort of stymies them in a sense on production and personnel. Their problem is probably more sewage right now than what it is water, to be able to accommodate everything that they need to in order to be able to grow without having to expand or outside of the community. If they've got room to expand here, if we got the infrastructure, to help them along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that they have any immediate plans or anything, but being the producer that they are, the production that they are, we've asked for their letter of support, so they're putting that together for us, and we'll review it. The other thing, and I forgot to bring it, my printer won't bring it over here. It's sort of a tie-in thing with IDEM. We have to have a cross-connection policy. And what that is our water system crossing over, say, to some other entity that we want to look at. Say if we had a fill station out back, where trucks and everybody come in, we'd have to have a cross-connection policy just for contamination. We don't have one, so we're going to implement that. I went right off and forgot it, but I would ask the board's approval or consideration in approving that policy because it's something that we need. And then, it's pretty standard policy, for every water system. It's just, and I don't have it with me tonight, but like that consideration to be taken, and we may revisit that so we can get
Table
compliance.
till next month?
Yeah, we'll table that for next month.
Will that take an ordinance?
Yeah. Yeah, sort of, it'd be an ordinance cross-connection policy for the utility system, yes, yep. And it's just a safety thing, so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There was something else. The street work has been complete, and I've been back over there looking. Did you guys look at it any? The street over at Academy Street?
I've been on it a few times.
Yeah, I just,
Every day.
every day. If you slow down below 50 mile an hour, you get a better chance of looking out. Going through town, you get a better chance to look at it. I'm pleased with what it appears to be. That they've done a good job sealing the cracks and done a good job coating it. The longevity of it, we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But I was pleased with what it looks like anyway. So if you see anything, well, let us know. We'll watch it this winter and see how it holds up and go along from there.
Mm-hmm.
But that puts us back in pretty good shape, I think, for everything we got going there.
Yeah, they filled my chuck hole, so
Yeah.
that one on the corners come there for that little Walter's old house.
Yeah.
There was a nice hole there, and they filled that baby in for me good, so I'm happy.
There was some recent vandalism here in town in which there was some destruction inside the post office, and they've apprehended the individuals that were involved in that.
Have they?
They restricted the hours a little bit until they could get a handle on it, I think. So, in talking with the sheriff's department this afternoon, they got all the information and stuff that they need. So,
I heard about that on the radio.
yeah,
And it's
Days
back
ago.
open.
it was local, more vandalism and kid stuff and just being belligerent. So,
Pretty big boy step to be vandalizing post office.
yeah,
Yeah, no kidding.
yeah, run in, knock hole in drywall.
I was in there
Yeah,
before the meeting.
yeah.
Looks like they had a bicycle. You
Yeah.
see the black skid marks?
I think that was a getaway mark.
Well, I think somebody threw
I
somebody
don't
into the
I
wall.
don't know whether they come sliding in or whether they was flying out. But anyway,
Somebody went, no.
they've got enough information. I think the case is being prepared. So hopefully that'll take care of that. And I think it was the same thing with the food pantry cabinet that they had over here on the corner that the church has, that some of the vandalism was created at that point in time. So that was right ahead of Halloween. Halloween, I think we got through pretty good, so I don't know of anything else that was working. Excuse me. We had one small window pane in the back of the community center in the old annex part back there in the old office area that was broken with a rock. So one of the little rock throwers probably is, at the same time, it was prior to the post office, so, but I'm sure probably
Well, there's
Same.
2 or 3 panes that have holes in them.
yeah.
Okay, so more have happened since the
Well,
one
no, it was
incident?
just that, no, they were all done at the same
Because I
time.
tried to put cardboard on them because birds kept coming in.
Yeah,
I don't like birds. Or mice. I tried to fix it, but I don't think my tape was very good.
duct tape.
I didn't have any.
So get that chrome if you can.
No, I want pink, and then I want the black
Birds
and
will
white
catch the
leopard.
mice, so you're gonna have to choose one or the other.
And that's another thing, I'll be winterizing the well field generators and everything else, putting cakes in and doing all that, so we'll have an expenditure for that. And I had a mileage log prepared too that I left laying from when that telemetry went down between the substation and all that, just running at the check and then have to run, so I'll be turning my mileage in
Please do.
on that, so we can get that taken care of at the same time. But those, I think, are pretty much all the expenses and the outgoing stuff that we've got outside of our normal bills.
I got a new paper folding machine.
Yeah. How's it work? First time?
Amazing.
Yeah.
I used it for November bills. Oh my gosh. It
And
still needs
how many
tweaked.
years did we tell you to get one?
But we have a budget. Oh,
Well, I know.
budget.
You
But
budget.
now my hands.
Yeah, but if you'd done it a long time ago, we told you it'd been a lot
I know.
cheaper.
Well, my hands will probably feel better than they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will.
Yes.
Is that what that hand
Yeah,
was looking at? That one?
amazing.
So if you got a bunch of mailings, we'll just
Yeah,
come
show
on.
me how it works.
Yeah, come on up.
Well, I still haven't got that weight adjusted because the water bills are thicker paper than, say, this. So Andy's helping me get my weight adjusted. Not himself.
I was gonna say, more ways than one, right? No, Amy.
So you're walking to work now, is that what you're saying?
Are you kidding me? I don't have that kind of time.
Okay.
I'd be walking home all the time to get in my car to go down to the bank.
I forgot to ask last month.
I think the youth association and the church and everybody went together for Halloween and had it next door. And I think and they had a truck or treat here on the street. Had pretty good participation. I think they figured they'd sold about 150, no, not sold, but gave away 150 hot dogs, something like that. So they had a pretty good crowd, pretty good turn. And that 150 mark's pretty good. With all the other trunk or treats and everything else and all that, you try to hit the hours at least for just local kids, but I think trick or treat was open pretty much all over the county
Oh,
for Friday and Saturday for the whole weekend, and we had ours on Monday, so but there was quite a few kids that were out, and I think they enjoyed it. I didn't know of any problems or anything we've had around since that point in time.
Go. You started to say something a minute ago. I forgot to ask last month. The Crowder property did not go to sale, did it?
No,
Okay.
No.
we still got it.
I know, but it was
Okay.
listed in tax sale.
Oh, I took care of all of
Did
that
you?
immediately.
Yes.
And I just
That's
paid it
wonderful.
all at once.
I forgot to ask
This
last
week's
month.
is taken care of.
Well,
too.
and now that weather's conducive and people have their windows sort of battened up a little bit, maybe we can get in there and see what we can do, see what the cost is going to be. And I think some of that COVID money depending on what it is, and we'll see. Terry Jones is also working on a couple of things on funds that may be available, for demolition of properties and stuff like that as well. So there's some funds available that may not be in that. If it's a business type event like we've got, why that may be too conducive for that. I don't know. Dee, have you got anything from anybody?
No, I'm just having accounting issues. And I have to call Keystone Wednesday because they were closed by the time I got my problem found today.
Okay.
Tomorrow's voting day, so I don't know if they're open or not.
No, who?
Anybody. I know the courthouse and,
Yeah, they won't be. All government agencies will be closed.
yeah, so Wednesday I'll get it fixed.
Yeah. So.
Tomorrow I will be hiding. Today was awful.
So they'll be voting, I think, from 6 to 6. And I never looked to see. I know that we discussed earlier, but I don't know whether anybody's got anything over there. They just may carry it in the morning and set it up. I know in past roads just set it up in the evening before that, have that out of the way that morning. But they'll be doing that. Along with that. So, like I say, with Triad Engineering, they're looking at our water system and going through the process with that. And Terry Jones is assisting with that. Park County EMS is looking for stormwater. We done that at the same time back when we done a flood control plan years ago, and then it sort of went through the cracks, and it never got any funding or anything that's available. Funds like that would be like the problem we've got down in Old Town where the creek's venting out. Those would be monies that would be able to assist us in that area there.
To pump the sewer to Rockville, would that take multiple stations along the way to pump that?
Yeah,
It's a ways, isn't it, for...
yeah. To me it is. To come out and say that the proposal is we're going to put all these people up here in the north, and then we're going to pump it to Rockville into their existing system. There's going to need to be more discussion from my part. My concerns are, number one is Rockville has their own agenda, and there's problems with the sewer plant that they have now that's operational. The other part of it is pumping sewage from Turkey Run Hotel, Turkey Run School, 15 miles, and just like you're saying, through a grinder station and pumping, because it'd be a high pressure main, pumping it all the way to Rockville. I think the alternatives are maybe a regional sewer system plant up here in the north that we could feed to. I think that would aid northern Park County and the communities of Marshall and us and the state park, since we provide all them water anyway, that there's more of a need for a regional sewer system, septic system up here than there would be to pump one to Rockville. If we got tied into that, my concern would be is that any expansion or growth that we may have that would come along here would still be based on what that sewage plant could handle in
Our
Rockville.
capacities.
The existing sewage plant in the state park isn't sufficient to be a regional plant for the north?
Well, the thing there is the Turkey Run, the state is wanting to get out of the sewer business.
Right.
The same way they got out of
That's
the water
just a
business
listing of
when
what
they
you guys
started
just
it.
signed.
So they want to get out of the sewer
That's not
business.
So they can't get out of the sewer
That's not
business
those
and
pages.
keep that on
It's
the
just a
property
listing of all the.
Well,
with some kind of
I
lease
think-
arrangement or something?
yeah, I think what they're looking at
Blah,
is
blah, blah.
the same thing. They're sort of saddled with it. They don't want it, but them and the school are hooked together. So if we use that existing plant, if they're willing to do that, I don't know that they want to put more money into that. I think they're exploring opportunities. They're going to sit at the table with us too. I would like to see it off-site and have a regional site and then all of us feed into that. Then we can go other directions off of that, and I think it would bring a lot more to the northern end of the county if we did have somebody looking and wanting to do something. We'd have sewage there, and the water we've already got there.
Well, even though nobody in this county wants to talk about it, even the expansion of the Turkey Run school system into the major Rockville
Yeah,
district, I mean, they would allow the expansion of that building, because it ain't happening in Rockville, that's for sure.
the sewer system and the schools hooked on out here with the park, and that was a joint venture between the state and the school system. And the reason for that was, it was good for the park because in the wintertime, the park was almost non-existent, you know, with the hotel and everything else. So when school's in session in the fall and through the winter, the kids in the school system pick up the sewage, which keeps our plant operational. And then when the school is out of session in the summer, then the traffic picks up in the park. So that's good for the treatment plant, and that's sort of in a balance. When we took over the water system, that was the same way we done, because we took on both because of them both being hooked into, and that was an agreement between all three of us. So, my thing is, you know, that with us providing water for Bloomingdale, Marshall, and the school and the park, you know, if we're looking at expansion and growth up here, go back to our primary concern that we were looking at, we need to make sure that as we go forward, that everything that we're doing is up to date in our water system to be able to accommodate any expansion and growth if they decide to go with the sewer system that may bring. You know, if I don't want to be, you know, I mean, we're okay where we're at right now, but the other thing is there's a lot of improvements that we need to make to be more efficient and to bring us sort of 21st century here to.
So would a sewage plant out here be centrally located between us and Marshall and the school and the park, someplace out there?
Well, that would be one theory and one process, you know, if that, and that's where we'll probably have to look at that and go. I can
It's
tell
more on
you.
elevation, isn't it?
Pardon?
It's based more on elevation, isn't it?
Well, the thing of it is, it'd be a high pressure main, you know, so we got to pump to it anyway. You know, now the water is just exactly what you're saying, and that's why the additional tower that we've got over there behind the school is the Bloomingdale Tower to provide water and everything there. By pumping out of this one, we pump to that substation. The reason that substation was put on there was just due to its location of Marshall being able to access it when we go down the county road to 236 to go into Marshall, and then to go on around the back way over to the school and the park. So that substation was located at that spot there for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at the rest of it, it's pretty well located in the central part of this district. But the other part would be is, I wouldn't want to say that, you know, where we would put one, or even if we will put one, or even if it's going to be in the plan. But that would, from my personal preference, my input would be that we look to try to establish something up here. Yep. Yep. So
If it wasn't centrally located, but just to have something up here, it's gonna be easier to get it from everywhere rather than Rockville.
well, if we tie into Rockville and you look at expansion and growth in Rockville, and a classic example may be look at REMC. You know, it's always been considered that the lake and all that area out on the east side of Rockville will be growing, and you look at REMC taking their new building and going east. You know, if they had to go some direction, so they decided to go east with everything that they've got to look at. So that'd be the same thing we need to look at. Montezuma's got their own sewer system, Rosedale's got their own, Rockville's got their own. So that just leaves us in Marshall in this area up here. And I would like to regionalize and look at this area just up here. Nothing against Rockville, nothing against that operation, but just from a mindset of doing business, I think they've got their own destiny, and I think that if this community up here, if we had that sewer district up here, we could look at controlling our expansion and our growth in the northern part of our county. So because we're from the Wabash River to the Turkey Run State Park with water, just Bloomingdale alone, plus taking care of Marshall. So we've stretched out there. You know, we just gotta take care of our end.
Yep.
Seems like a long way to pump anything.
Yes, it does.
Long way for problems.
We pump water from the well, from our wells in the Wabash River Basin to this tower. This tower then fills that sub-tank that sits off the edge of the road, 40, just north of 236 on 41. That big blue tank. And then we pump, what happens is this water tower then from elevation here feeds that blue tank. Out of that blue tank then, Marshall's got a pump there, and they pump to Marshall. And then the other pump goes from there to the tower over behind the high school. And then it takes care of the park and that. So like you were saying, different elevations and everything else, but that's the way the water works. So when they're calling for water, and if we look at expansion and growth, you know, with a new 100,000 gallon tank there and 110,000 or pretty close to 100,000 in Marshall, we need to replace our 60,000 tank back here, time and elements and everything else have got it, so to upgrade, at least with a new tank and doing that, and then look at our operations that we have at the well field and try to be as proficient as we can with those and changing them over and getting everything done. So it's a monumental task. And, you know, I know that everybody's sitting on a button and waiting on, oh, sewer. But it takes water to run that, and that's our primary thing. So our primary responsibility would first probably be making sure that we can keep up with the water and, you know, and doing that. The biggest thing, too, is buying both coming at once. Then you go back, like we were talking about elections earlier, and you look at the economy the way it is, and with the people who got jobs and this and that, and the prices of everything that have went up. If we make the improvements, is the cost factor going to be beyond what people in your own community can even afford to pay? And that's where we were at the previous time, that rates were just unreasonable. If we would have put that in, I don't know where we would be today, but I can tell you we'd probably, everybody would have been moving out of Bloomingdale. So then if everybody moves out of Bloomingdale, you're still stuck with the...
Was it you saying they did that at Brazil?
Yeah, a lot of places down. When Brazil went through the same thing, and a lot of those folks, you know, was just...
Up and left.
Yeah, but Brazil was big enough, it's overcome a lot of that, and it sort of went on, but it's gonna have an impact
Yeah.
on any community, and ours isn't that big, and you look at, you know, all the resources and employments and everything of our community, why we're on the edge of low income and being a community that's just sort of hanging on to what we got.
Yeah.
And, you know, we serve those people too, or we are those people. So it's gonna be a nail biter either way to see. It's gonna be a tough decision to make, that's for sure. But we need an honest opinion, and that's where all the money will come, and we'll evaluate it and see where it's at when it comes.
But with the state involved out there at the park.
Do what?
With the state involved, that helps, doesn't it?
Well, they're gonna have an interest in it, whatever, however they're gonna wanna put it in. They'll probably wanna pay their fair share, but, you know, they probably don't wanna pay no more than what their fair share would be.
Right.
But a sewer system would promote a lot, you know, in that park area alone. You know, look at what it may bring up and down Highway 47. You know, if they had something of that nature that was going on, you know, what they may want to do then once that would be available. There's just not a whole lot of water in that region of the county that's not mineral water, you know. And that's what Turkey Run water got out of the state park, got out of the water business. They were drawing water out of Sugar Creek, and they had to treat it 4 times a day. So they were using surface water. So when we got good water, that's why they wanted to become a customer of ours. So I don't know that we were ready for it, but we saddled ourselves up and accepted the challenge, and we were providing them water, and I think we provided them pretty good service. So we're just faced at that crossroads again. So you don't think too much about it until you look at all the water where we go to get it and where it comes from and everybody that we're serving, so.
You just turn it on and it's there.
Yeah, just hope the switch works. When that electric goes off, the switch don't work. The generator that we've got, the generators that we have will power the lights and the operational components inside the building, but it's not big enough to hump those pumps to push water all the way from the well field here to town. So we did have enough in storage with everything we had, so let's say 4.5, 5 hour period and nothing was there, so we were in good shape.
When you have your own sewer plant, does it need to be capable to run off the grid?
Yeah, probably, yeah. Yep.
In my head.
Yep. It'll all be, and that's, sewer system is so different than, a lot of things. I mean, you got grinder stations. Each house may have a grinder station where it's ground before it ever goes into a high pressure main, but it'll all be high pressure. Then a high pressure main would pump that sewage to Rockville. So all the sewage, say from Turkey Run Hotel and the campgrounds and everywhere that they have tied into it, probably just a hotel. And those would go through a grinder station and then be pumped to Rockville to be treated. So, I don't know, it's a long way to pump sewage. It's good. It's got to be at least 15 to 16 miles.
So a grinder station, is that not something like you would have in Rockville, in town?
I think, I don't know exactly how there is, but I think they do have some grinder stations, because any sewage that goes into that main has a grinder station that goes through to grind it all up so that it won't plug the line up, and then you put the high pressure behind it through everything. So,
Town of Waveland, all the homes have grinders.
Really?
yeah. The big thing with the jail
Around the lake too.
Jail has problems, of course, when you got guys in the back that tear off their uniforms and flush them down the stool, grind them. Prisons have problems. Any place does. Hotels, motels, But
I think I should
when they
just
want to
stay where
play,
we
so
are.
you gotta build them for everybody. Just whatever game they want to play.
You've never watched Dirty Jobs, have you?
I have. That's what. Oh no.
When we put these restrooms, it's called a manway or whatever. But even when we put these restrooms in over here, in a lockup unit or security places, you can go back and shut down everything, so they won't flood themselves and do this and all that. This one's built under that same pretense, so we can get back there and do whatever we need to do. I told them, I said, it's just my conditioning in the past. It's hard. I can't close that wall off and just put it back there. We need to have access to it where we can get back there and work on it. So we can do that.
When you say everybody's house would have a grinding station,
Yeah,
do you mean like under the ground? And
yeah. Your sewage would leave your house. It would go out, and before it would enter that high pressure main, you'd go through sort of a grinding station. You'd grind it up and mix it in with water and slurry, make a slurry out of it.
Unless they make a poopy slurry.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it, honestly.
Yeah, they'll grind it up and push it into that high pressure main and pump it out so it'll be processed and be treated.
Poopy garbage disposal. Think of it that way. It's about the same
Pretty
thing.
much.
All I can think
That's
is
exactly
a
what it is.
Exactly, yeah.
blender.
Yep, leave that water run behind it.
Just thought you flushed it and it just went under the earth.
Yeah. Well, it used to go in a hole and then you'd pick it up, move it over, fill that hole in, dig another one, so.
And I know me and you both have done that a couple of times. Because
Yeah.
Grandpa Charlie, they didn't have plumbing in the house till 1990.
My littlest brother was almost cheap when we had inside plumbing,
I can
But we
remember
had a
going back out
two-seater.
on chilly nights.
so we didn't have to move ours.
It was cold out there. Wake up, didn't know whether you was in trauma, sleepwalking, or whatever. You was out there. You know.
Especially if it snowed some. You gotta dig your way in the outhouse. That was always fun.
Yep. So I don't know of anything else. You guys got anything else? Think of anything?
I had nothing.
Got
So-
nothing for you.
We'll have some decisions to make when those meetings are coming up and different things. I'll let you guys know, and we're all welcome to attend them and see what the input's going to be to help stay on top of everything.
Where do you want our email address?
Just write it there on a pad and a piece of paper, and you can use clean sheet.
We have lots of those.
Try it, just
I can't believe I
brother.
haven't absconded them all
Yeah.
as badly as I need little tablets.
Have you got a schedule or anything? They said anything to you about sewer meetings and districts or anything? Okay. Right now, it's pretty much tabletop discussions in
I
town.
usually don't do the
Okay.
workshops.
Yeah, that's basically.
Now, if there's one where that you think
That's
should
too
be
freaking
recorded,
long. I
that
wish
is
I'd never done that.
important, get a hold of me, and
I'll do
I'm
that.
happy to do it if I can.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Can't write this evening.
The other thing is too, is on this system that we've got here, I'm on it and Jamie's on it right now. I think Jamie finally got approved, but we can get you guys on this too, just from a informational standpoint, whatever.
What is it, map?
Okay, this is a good one, because this is, here are these are the two locations. This is our substation and this is the tower. And what it's showing over there at the water tower, and it just gave one this evening, and that's why it's still that color. But it's showing that red dot, so that means that there's a problem there. But when you go to the substation, okay, these two little blue pinwheels that you see right here, those are our two motors that pump water from the substation over to that tower. And the reason there's two pumps in there, but they alternate. So when that pinwheel's going around, that means that the pump's running. So we'll have the capability of going in and shutting that pump off from here. And what's happening now is the alarm level that, something, I'm gonna get on the right button.
So you won't have to drive down there, you can do it on your phone?
Yeah, we can check from right here to see if we got what our level is. Okay, this one right here is showing 22.06 feet, and that's what the substation is reading that the Turkey Run Tower has in it, and that's full. That 22 feet is. But if we go back then and go to our other location, okay, and it's showing it at 2210, so that's higher than what the other one is, and 2210 would be at an overflow. So what we need to do is go back in and calculate that so that that pump shuts off a little quicker, so that it doesn't overflow. And so it'll get an alarm occasionally. Sometimes it'll shut off, but basically what it is it's showing that that's 2210. The other one was that, so that 0.6 of a foot will cause, it shows overflow on that one. And it may take a while for this one to catch up on a reading, or the other thing of it is I've never been there on that overflow to see if it's actually overflowing or if it's just at the limit. But I think what we need to do is back this, but I'll get a hold of the service tech and see. So with these right here, we can turn the pumps on or off from the substation to the tower. I can tell you what the substation's reading that the tower's got in it, plus I can tell you what the limit is over at the tower.
So you don't have to manually go out to the sub, you can turn them off from your phone.
Yes,
You don't have to manually go out to the substations.
right.
Okay, so it's like me and the HVAC system at the school, when I'm on
Right.
my computer,
Yes,
I can,
yeah. So we can go in and access it. So we can go in and access it and turn it off. So in emergency situations, or the other thing is if you're assessing, making a needs assessment or something's going on, I can sit right here and get my readings and everything else. The other thing that it does is, I had it here, got mixed up. It'll print out a monthly report, a daily report, and tell us how many gallons we've been pumping. And just a lot of, and there's online tutorials to learn how to read it, but
YouTube it.
yeah. Those are the printouts that we get at the end of every month. It gives us the information for accountability for the number of hours that our pumps are running, how we've been pumping, and what we pump. We can put our rate figure into that as well, and it'll tell what the cost was, for us to pump all the water. So it's a mission thing. It's costly. It's the $17,000 that we looked at. But that's the other thing is that we can put it in the back end, and there's more expense up front. But the process and the system we had before was depleted. It was shot. Couldn't go no further, so we went 21st century. But it'll be nice. You can make a needs assessment pretty much, and everything else right off there. It gives you a pretty good information sheet. Mm-hmm.
Should I add that as an asset?
Yes.
Okay, I
Yeah.
thought so.
And we'll also have that on the computer here. We'll put that into the laptop,
Good.
so then that we can pull it up. Anybody then that we allow access, we just have a password and we can pull it up and make it.
As long as you don't lose your ability to go physically, manually do stuff.
Yes, exactly, right. And the thing, all of our controls are still there. The thing that this does though is, it's like, I was talking with our service rep who has a little driving distance time and stuff to come, that he can take that and be running the process all through his head by the time he gets here, rather than getting here and taking that assessment time to actually see what's going on. So from a management standpoint and an employee standpoint, to have, sort of update to give us more information quicker, it'll be that same thing. The other part of that is, and a lot of other towns already have it, but the hooking your meters into that, your water meters. So, say if you had a water meter and you were complaining of a high water bill, we can put a limit of what you would use, and then a limit on the max if you're using over that. The other thing is we can come over here at 1 o'clock in the morning and pull that up, and if your meter's sitting there spinning, we can notify you usually that next morning that you may have a leak. So from a leak management standpoint, and just a control of what we're pumping.
Pinpoint things quickly.
Yes, and the other thing is too is getting our meters all recalibrated so that we know exactly how many gallons we're pumping, that we're not pumping 50,000 gallons and getting paid for 30. So
Good stuff.
yeah, it is. And you can justify it. That's the thing. It's it's good for everybody. It's good for us being a manager to know what is going on with the system and what would be expected of us, and then it's also good for the customer too, for accountability that their money is being well spent, and we're on top of it trying to help them out. Anything else?